What would you do if one day you woke up and found 96 houses built on your land? For most people, that would be the end of the story. But for Clara Jefferson, it was only the beginning. Clara Jefferson had always known that the land beneath her feet carried more than soil. It carried memory, legacy, and history written in sweat and sacrifice. Her grandparents had fought to keep it when banks tried to seize it. Her parents had paid the taxes season after season, even when crops failed. For over a century, the Jefferson name had been bound to those rolling acres outside Pinewood. Clara never thought of selling, not once. But then came the Homeowners Association. They called themselves Progress, dressed in shiny suits and drove sleek cars. They showed up with glossy blueprints, wide smiles, and promises of community growth. But growth to them meant destruction to her. They didn't knock on her door to ask. They didn't even bother with an offer at first. They just moved in their bulldozers, cut down her trees, and started laying foundations for 96 new homes. The HOA thought Clara was just an obstacle, a single woman holding on to old land while the town moved forward. What they didn't know was that Clara was prepared. Inside her home, in a fireproof chest she had kept since childhood, were deeds, tax receipts, and maps that traced ownership back to her great-grandfather. Every page bore the Jefferson name. Every document was ironclad proof the land was hers. The developers thought they had bought the property from a distant relative who hadn't set foot in Pinewood for decades. But that sale was worthless. They had spent millions on land they never owned. The first time Clara confronted them was at a public community meeting. The HOA president, Richard Harmon, stood at the podium boasting about the future subdivision. Parks, fountains, cul-de-sacs lined with luxury homes. He spoke as if the land were already theirs. Clara, dressed in her Sunday dress, walked calmly to the front, opened her portfolio, and held up the yellowed deed. "This land is mine," she said, her voice cutting through the room. "Every road you pave, every house you frame, is just digging you deeper into a hole you can't climb out of." The silence that followed was so deep, you could hear the air conditioner hum. She closed her folder and walked out. That was the moment the trap began to close. The HOA tried intimidation first. Letters with legal language arrived in her mailbox. Contractors parked their trucks across her driveway. One morning, a man in a suit knocked on her door with a smirk and a thinly veiled threat. "Be smart. Ms. Jefferson, take the offer before this gets messy." Clara simply shut the door in his face. She wasn't scared. She knew exactly what she held in her chest of papers. Instead of backing down, Clara went to court. She filed a lawsuit for trespass, unlawful development, and damages equal to every brick, nail, and beam placed on her. And the town was stunned. No one had expected her to fight. Some whispered that she'd never stand a chance against a powerful HOA with deep pockets and high-paid lawyers. But others began to rally behind her. When a reporter asked why she was doing it, Clara gave the line that would change everything. "My family has held this land for more than 100 years. If they think they can take it from me, they're about to learn I don't scare easy. They walked right into my trap." That quote hit the front page of the county paper. Overnight, she wasn't just a woman with a deed. She became a symbol. From there, the cracks began to spread in the HOA's foundation. Buyers demanded their deposits back. Banks froze funding when they realized ownership was in question. Contractors pulled out mid-job, not wanting to be tied to a lawsuit. The proud board members turned on each other, arguing behind closed doors about who had checked the paperwork, who had signed the contracts, and who would take the blame. The subdivision that was supposed to be their shining achievement now looked like a graveyard of half-built houses and empty promises. Meanwhile, Clara kept her composure. She tended her garden. She walked to church. To the outside world, she looked unshakable. And in truth, she was. The courtroom battle drew crowds. Locals packed the benches just to watch the showdown. The HOA's lawyers arrived with binders, charts, and bravado. Clara's attorney carried a slim briefcase and the truth. The HOA tried to argue they had purchased the land in good faith. But then Clara's lawyer laid down the original deed, complete with the Jefferson family name inked over a century ago. "This land belongs to Ms. Jefferson," he said. "It always has. Every dollar they spent, every structure they built is trespass. And under the law, trespass has consequences." The judge leaned forward, frowning. and everyone in the room knew the HOA was losing. Desperation made people reckless. One evening, the HOA president himself came to Clara's porch. His tie was loose, his face slick with sweat. He tried charm first, then pressure. He offered her a buyout, well above market value, enough for her to live comfortably anywhere she wanted. Clara sat on her porch swing, shelling peas into a bowl, and didn't even look at him when she answered. "You can't buy your way out of this. Not anymore. My family didn't hold this land for a century, just so I could hand it to the first man with a checkbook. You'll pay every cent on my terms." He left humiliated, knowing she would never give in. By the final week of trial, the HOA had been bled dry. Their investors were gone, their reputations shattered, their board in chaos. The courthouse was filled wall to wall when the judge returned with his ruling. His words cut like a hammer. Clara Jefferson was the rightful owner. The HOA had trespassed knowingly. They were ordered to halt all development immediately and to pay damages equal to the appraised value of 96 homes, the cost of land usage, plus punitive fines for willful violation. The gavel fell. Gasps rippled through the room. Some neighbors clapped, others cheered outright. The HOA board sat in stunned silence. Their empire turned to rubble in an instant. Reporters swarmed Clara as she stepped outside into the cool autumn air. Cameras flashed, microphones thrust forward. One asked, "How do you feel now that you've won?" Clara paused, her eyes drifting to the half-built houses standing lifeless across her fields. Then she answered, calm and steady, "This land isn't just mine. It belongs to my parents, my grandparents, and every Jefferson who came before me. And now it belongs to every generation that comes after. We didn't lose it, we protected it." The crowd erupted in applause, but Clara didn't bask in it. She just walked down the courthouse steps, quiet, dignified, carrying herself with the same strength she had carried from the beginning. For the HOA, it was the end. For her, it was the start of something greater: peace, legacy, and the assurance that her family's land was safe for centuries more. The trap had snapped shut. The world had witnessed it. And it would be remembered as the day one woman proved that true power doesn't come from money, titles, or threats. It comes from standing firm, holding your ground, and never letting go of what's rightfully yours. The land was hers. It always had been, and now it always would be. If you enjoyed this story of justice and legacy, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. And remember, sometimes the smallest voice can make the loudest impact.